It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's the podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and piercer talk about some of the more common questions that those who collect tattoos and piercings may have and other body art type stuff. Brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. Well, we have the usual crew. The crew that do is what we decided on, right?
We're doing the do.
Yep.
The crew that do.
The crew that do.
Don't drink a lot of it; it'll give you kidney stones.
Yeah. Don't. We're not. It's DO. Not.
I got meth
Not
mouth.
DE.
Mountain Dew mouth.
Not DO.
We're in Iowa.
DO.
We're going to get confused on that for sure.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Yeah, I'm
We have
already.
to think of something else.
yeah, and
Motley crew.
stay
For
within
now.
the Red Bull too, kids.
Yeah.
To my right, Jimmy St. John, tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. Directly to my right here is Jack Lowe, also a tattoo artist here at Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Me, I'm DaVo. I do body piercing and I own the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. And then directly to my left is Brent Starr, tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. And what we're going to talk about today is I
Fictionary
want
creature.
a simple tattoo. Can I get a simple tattoo? It's a simple tattoo. It only takes 5 minutes. What we're going to discuss today is there's no such thing
You know what people
as
say
a
that?
simple tattoo.
People that have never tattooed.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're the ones that say stuff like that.
And that's most people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know.
All of our clients,
Yeah.
Well, I've tattooed some tattooers.
and they're mostly tattooers. Then,
Well, like you've tattooed me. I'm a tattooer.
so most of the people you tattoo.
No,
are
not
tattooers.
most of the people,
Yeah,
but
so I
sometimes.
said most of the people aren't. You're always
Okay,
fighting
technicality.
me.
You're
always
both
fighting
right.
me.
You're
No,
both right.
Well, I
Can
think
we just
We need to be
can we-
separated. I'm just kidding.
That's
Can
why
we
you
just get
hear
along?
it. That's why you hear it so much. You
I
know. Yeah, people are under the impression that if it's just a few lines or it's just a line around my arm or, you know, something like that, that it's simple. Well, it may look simple. You know, it is a simple looking tattoo.
But it's an illusion.
But the more simple a tattoo is, the more difficult it is
Yeah,
for
technical
the
and
artist
shit.
to do it. And basically, it comes down to there's nowhere to hide.
Yep.
You know, if you've got something with 1,000 lines in it and you fuck up 5 of them, it's no big deal. You know, you've got all this other stuff going on that you may not even notice, or it might not even impact the tattoo at all. Plus, a lot of times you'll have shading, you'll have color to
Yep.
go in there to kind of
Yep.
smooth some things out and straighten some stuff out. But when it's just one line
Yep.
going around a non-perfect surface that moves, that bleeds, that, you know,
That decimates in size as it goes down, changes.
You got
diameters.
one shot.
you
Yep.
have
You got one pass.
Yeah, you've got one chance to do it. So yeah, it might look simple, but
It's not.
the smaller something is, the harder it gets to do because there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to, oh, they moved a bit, they made the line wobble. That's okay. I can go back and just sculpt it a little bit to make up for that. Your tolerances are so tiny in the smaller something gets that you don't have room now. If you were to go and try to adjust that line, it's going to take up the empty space next to it. And now
That
it's a
was needed.
blob, you know? So
You remember
yeah.
the stupid place phase where everybody wanted to do the little cross or the arrow right here on the side of your wrist? So like when your arm moves, because you know your skin twists.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, it's only straight when my arm's up. I'm like, well, yeah, it's the only time that skin's in that position.
That kind of goes along. Yeah, that's the other half of it too, is placement. You know, you might have a simple tattoo, but if you put it right in the center of your elbow, you know, well, now you've got to deal with the skin type transition. You've got to deal with the texture of the skin. You've got to, you know, try to find the center of something that is constantly moving and changing, you know, because your skin sac is sliding over the top of your muscles and bones all the time. So,
Yeah.
you know, the ridge that is there when you do this isn't there when you do that. So, you know, there's a lot of little nuancy shit too that comes into
Exactly.
play. With placement, that can be just as
It's
tough.
like when people want straight in the middle and they stand like this when they take the picture. I'm like, it's not straight anymore. I'm like, well,
Oh,
neither
I
are
deal
you.
with that daily. I don't know. My piercing looks crooked.
Well, quit
Yeah.
standing crooked.
It's like, well, stand up straight, young man or young lady.
I always like that. Or the people are like, oh, it's not the same on my thumbs. I'm like, well, you have 2 different thumbs. If you hold them up and look, you got a mom
Yeah.
thumb and a dad thumb
That's
because
the same
2
thing
people
with-
made you.
Yeah.
So you're not just perfectly symmetrical.
And most right-handed people hold their left shoulder high
Mhm.
for whatever reason. So even when they relax, just those muscles and everything from being pulled up all the time are still pulled up more than even when they're relaxed as the right side.
Yep.
So when you're centering something, say on a chest or on a back is almost worse, you know, because you have so many muscles going on in your back that even if one or two of them are bigger or smaller than the other side, that
Throws
you know,
it off.
when you look at it, it visually messes with you. In just a daily grind of moving around, twisting, turning, throwing your shirt on or whatever you're doing, you're not going to notice it. But when you're really trying to find the center of something and trying to balance something out, it blares out at you.
And just like the feet standing at just like different angles.
Yeah.
You know, that simple stuff
All
like
that
that
stuff
can
changes.
impact it, you know.
Yeah. So, and I'll say, just pretend you're standing waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
You know,
I always tell them stand
really,
at attention.
You know, just stand relaxed and just stand in that natural loose state. And even then, some people's arms, the way their shoulder, a lot of times their shoulder, they'll have that back muscle built up, or they won't at all. So their arm even looks more like it kind of curves forward. And trying to find the center mass on something, even if the design is simple, getting it to balance and lay just right on the skin to not look awkward can make it difficult.
I've always told my customers, stand with your feet together and stand up straight. Like
Yeah,
stand at attention. Like stand at
That's
attention,
how-
basically.
That's how
That's
we
as straight
mark.
as you are at any point when you're standing.
That's how
Yeah.
I usually mark torso piercings. Facial piercings, I'll try to distract them by going, raise your head, turn to the left, you know, now cough. You know, I'll make little jokes about it. But basically, what I'm doing is trying to determine where the actual not pixel, what am I thinking of?
The
Pivot point
of it.
is of that particular part of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too.
I found with tattoos also, once you get a tattoo, you remember those old magic eyes? You stare at them and you see the ship or whatever it was in them, you know?
Yeah.
Tattoos are a lot like that. If you stand in the home in your bathroom and you stare at your tattoo trying to look at all this like little technical stuff and trying to find it, the more you stare at it, the more shit's going to get off because the more shit ain't going to look right because the longer you're staring at it, it's like a magic eye. It starts moving and changing and your mind messes with it and you know what I mean?
Yeah, you start noticing all those little
you're like,
And once you notice it, you can't
never
unknown
not
it.
see it.
And it's something that nobody else, unless they're just, you know, we've all got that person we know that just tries to bring you down no matter what because they're better and they know more all the time.
Most of the generations now.
99.9% of the people, unless they're that asshole, they're never going to notice that.
Nope.
You know,
don't point it out to them because then they're going to notice it always and tell you about it every time. You know.
Well, yeah, there's that. But it's trying to find the perfect center of something that doesn't have
one.
You know, so it's a visual center. It's that first 10 seconds you look at it, you know, does it look right? And if you turn away and you look back at it and it looks off, that's when you got to be concerned.
Yeah.
But if you have to look at it and stare at it and, you know, really
it's as close as
look
it's getting.
and back and forth and, you know, then it's centered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can kind of sway your own perception just by looking at something too long.
And the way the light is hitting your muscles too. You know, the way the light's laying is gonna shift gonna shift those lines just a little bit. So it can be really frustrating and stressful as an artist.
I love when you put a huge piece on them and they come in and go, "Can you move it up like this much?"
Yeah.
Like, dude, I can't even see between your fingers. Do you want me to move it like nothing?
Right.
And like, why are we gonna mess all this skin up? Can we just do it?
What I usually do is make a dot right next to it, and 9 times out of 10 they will say between the two.
Oh yeah.
Every time.
And it's just, is this like, did you want to have input on this? Is that what it is, or is that really going to make that much?
A lot of people can't trust that somebody else can make a decision for them without them being involved in it, which is fine.
Part of dealing with
I get it.
clients.
It's just a human thing.
And people, I think, are going to shoot for the middle. Like, I don't want it super cold. I don't want it super hot. I want it just right.
Yeah.
And your brain falls into that, you know, pick a number. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, you know. So you see 2 dots and you ultimately, well, I don't want all nothing or all, you know, I want.
You should put 3 dots on them.
Yeah,
and have the right one in the middle and be like, which one do you want? You want it in between those?
So when people call in and they go, it's just a simple tattoo, I would say a lot of them, what they're really asking, what they're really talking about is cheap. That's the first thing. And they're usually talking about names or very, very small tattoos.
We got an interesting sign up front that says cheap tattoos aren't good and good tattoos are not cheap.
Yeah, well, that's the truth of everything.
But that I think they're trying to use the Jedi mind trick on you. It's easy.
Yes.
It's cheap.
These
I'll
are not
do
the joys
no
you're
work
looking
at
for.
all.
You can get me in tonight.
You just
Even though
trace.
there's 5 minutes left.
I've had somebody
Yeah.
call for a simple tattoo. Okay, well, I do have a couple hours open. What are we talking about? Oh, it's just to cover up on my arm. I want to start a sleeve, and I'm like,
And I've got this big black bomb right
this
now.
is really not sounding at all simple.
Just putting the word "just" in front of your sentence doesn't change anything.
It doesn't add any
It doesn't take any time
ease
off.
to anything.
The things they're not taking into consideration is you're gonna draw it. You're gonna have to stencil it more than likely. You're gonna have to clean off the area. You got to shave it, right?
Yep.
You also have to
Set
set up
up.
all your equipment to make sure that it's all sterile, clean.
Well, from meeting with somebody and coming up with
etc.
a
And then they're
custom
going to come
tattoo.
in and you're going to do this simple tattoo that takes like an hour and a half, and they're like, "Well, it should be $50
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's only this big."
Well, the setup usually isn't so bad for me for tattooing,
Yeah.
but like the whole when you walk in the door and I haven't talked to you, I haven't conversed with you or anything, and you're like, okay, I want a simple tattoo. Okay, what are you thinking? Well, I want an outline of this, Indian head wearing Indian feathers, with the whole headdress on. I just want the outlines though, so it's gonna be simple. I'm like, cool. Well, I got to figure out what you're talking about, what size we're gonna do it. I got to draw something up. I got to design something
off the top of your
of my
head.
head. And that's most of the time right there. Because, a lot of these drawings that people come in, like I tell them all the time, they're like, what time do y'all get out of here? I'm like, well, we close at 8, and me and Jack usually stay average of midnight to 2 in the morning every day. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, I have to draw my stuff for tomorrow. And like, for one example, the dude I did the Jules, I did that massive Medusa on his stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That drawing took me 18 hours.
Yeah.
The drawing took
Yeah.
18 hours.
Yeah.
It's a 20-something hour tattoo. It was huge, but,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't got 18 hours for that 2-hour tattoo.
There is so much work in Medusa heads, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's like you're doing
Lots
10
of snaky
snakes,
business.
10 snakes, and then a
beautiful
face and hair, and all the.
And if you
They
don't get
are.
the number of snakes right, you're going to get that call 2 weeks from. They're supposed to be 11.
Right.
Well, yeah, if you're doing like whatever, but it
they're
just depends
not
on what style
actually
you're doing and whatnot. But
Well, I've done a billion roses in my career,
Yeah.
but roses are they're technical.
yes,
Yeah.
To really make a rose look pretty and make
not
it
flat.
There are so many angles, so many little shadow spots, so many kind of these rules about, how shadows are supposed to be, and you've got 100 of them going on in the space of a baseball. They're tough, but
Yeah.
people see a billion of them and probably think, well,
They're easy.
it's just a rose or something like that. But
Yeah.
if you unless you want just old school 5-petal rose,
Yeah.
whatever.
Sunflower
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
with
just a
5
flat,
petals.
Yeah.
some
but-
black, some
And-
red.
and
go.
yellow, brown. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
only 2 colors you get.
Right.
And it's that big.
And some people, they're known for that and they stay busy because of that style.
That's
I'm
cool.
not saying anything that's wrong with the style. I'm just saying people don't come to me for that. So even an image that you would think would be simple like a rose is not.
Yeah, you were talking about how you did that Atlas. I think that was last week's.
Okay, yes.
And how
yeah.
difficult it was to kind of do it more in a sketchy way
Yeah.
than
Right.
straight.
You still have to tattoo it, so it's
Right.
not like you're scribbling
Right.
lines on a person.
No.
You're actually tattooing that
To make it
and-
look like you sketched.
Right.
Yeah.
And there
because-
was a big.
then-
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
sorry. Just trying to make it look chaotic is kind of just
Yeah, that's why I don't
a
like
little
watercolor.
difficult sometimes because it looks a little contrived,
and
or
make it well. You got to make it look like you did it on purpose, not like you didn't do it well.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And it
there's
also-
a fine line between that.
And it's also natural. It
Yeah,
isn't like,
it looks-
that looks like you went in there and just kind of messed with it. Yeah, the other thing is, the other one I wanted to bring up was ignorant tattoos.
Like what do you
mean?
What do you mean?
Really badly done tattoos. Like they're done professionally, but they look like somebody did them at 4:00 in the morning after doing lines of coke for 12
Yeah.
hours.
Is that a thing?
I don't.
Yeah,
like
it is. It was a huge thing
Well, like
for
I kind
about a
of.
minute.
I mean, I don't equate it to like the drawings children do, but I kind of it's similar.
Same,
you know, it's kind of in that same vein of okay, well, you want me to do this,
That's
where
totally
it's kind of putting your
shit.
name on it, and there's it's kind of like a taste kind of thing. Like, I don't know if I really want to do that. That's kind of.
But to me, it's a challenge, and
it is,
and it's completely out of the box I'm normally in to try to make this look make it look loose like a child did it, but make it look like it's supposed to look like a child did it. It's. I like that. I like when people will bring in their kids' drawings because you've got to kind of use a different little part of your brain, I think,
That is true.
Not look at it because you want it to look as polished and as perfect as it can be. You want it to look as much like, it's kind of like doing a portrait in a way, You tattoo exactly what you see, even though it feels wrong. It's supposed to feel wrong because it's not going to look like your other stuff. It's kind of a neat little battle in your head and kind of a...
Because you're fighting those motor skills.
You're fighting what it should look like, but you're trying to emulate what a child has done.
I guess I kind of do that with like people's signatures and like "Love You, Mom," kind of stuff.
I always feel like I'm in school forging my
trying to do
name.
the best
rendition,
reproduction of that.
Right.
That is a challenge.
And you're fighting against all these built-in automatic things that you normally do, but you have to tell yourself, no. I know there's supposed to be a little thing here, but it's not there.
Right.
It's the reason why I don't like doing watercolor. It's the same thing in my head. I'm like, if I spill shit on my painting, I usually throw it away. That's not what I don't want to spill stuff on.
And a lot of that is I'm sure it's kind of in that same vein.
Well, you're trying to make a splatter not look like a calculated, drawn-out splatter. It's got to look like a splatter.
Yeah, it's got to look natural.
Abstract as hell.
Yeah,
you're taking one medium and trying to make it look like another medium. It's not. It's like, hey, can you paint me an oil painting? But I want it to look like a sketch. I want it to look like somebody pencil sketched it. That would be. I assume I don't do.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't.
I've only done a few oil paintings in my life, but I don't see many oil paintings that look like someone sketched it with a pencil.
And every time anybody's hit me up or asked me my advice on getting like a like fine art done on them, it's like, well, you kind of have to keep in mind it's kind of it's more like the airbrush version when you get into tattooing a lot of because that mechanism is not there to do the depth of the strokes and everything else that's involved with doing like a masterpiece in oil.
Well, you don't get the texture of the canvas and the paint anymore. And a lot of times when people will paint with I guess oils or it's more acrylics when they build it up and they'll have like a chunk of paint on there, and what they're playing with is the shadow of the light hitting that paint and casting that little shadow off of the paint. Well, when we make a quick little stroke, we don't leave a ball of ink on the skin that has a shadow coming off of it.
No, we have to tattoo the shadow in.
So it's so much more technical. We have to make a tattoo look like an illustration or a painting or a pencil drawing or a statue.
That's a good point.
It's not just, it's far from a Xerox.
It's every medium.
Yeah.
Combined, wrapped in one. Yeah,
it's complete
the difficulty of each one.
Yeah,
like these people that do the stitching, like it looks like a patch stitched on you right now. Those have been pretty popular. Like, oh man, they make my nerves frazzled. I'm like, oh,
I know what I'm going to ask.
Oh, there's a piece of thread off here and string off there, and this was stitched around here with this color and that
shadowing.
Color. Yeah, dude, it looks like it's stitched on the skin.
And to maybe someone else, it looks, it's easy. Just make it. You just kind of scribble in the stitches, and it's
right.
You're using a medium to try to make it look like it was stitched. It's
right.
It's a totally different thing.
And we've talked about this in past episodes of how, like, when you guys actually do, because how lettering gets wrong. How you guys are really tattooing shapes.
Yeah.
You guys are not.
Well,
so when they say it's a simple 3-word or 5-letter word, depending on the font, depending on where it's at, it's not an easy tattoo to perform correctly.
The thing with doing words is when we tattoo, unless you're left-handed, you tattoo from the right side to the left side so you don't wipe all your shit off when you're tattooing. Well, you read from left to right, not right to left. So I'm starting at the last letter. I'm going backwards. I'm concentrating on the shape and the flow of every individual letter. I don't even see it as a letter. It's a shape. Yeah, That's what I'm doing. And I'm hooking all these shapes together and making them look fluid. I'm not reading it over and over this way to spell it. I'm concentrating like crazy on this way to do it, and that's why it's misspelled. I don't know.
Just because it takes you a half a second to sign your name doesn't mean it takes a half a second to tattoo it on you.
No.
Did you get? I emailed a video of me tattooing.
I'll insert it.
Okay,
because that the switcher will do photos, but it doesn't do video.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a shin I did. So I imagine
Not a simple tattoo.
Yeah, a lot of people looking at that would go, "Oh, it's just some lines flicked on there." But like I was saying earlier, you have that one little chance to make that line look like a little dash, a little thicker to thinner and kind of, so I'm using one medium to try to look like another medium. So I didn't just real quick, just flick, bam, 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 and put these little marks in and get up and go. Even with the compass rose at the bottom, again, if there's a little wobble outside of where that line is supposed to be, there's no covering it up.
And if it's consistency of each line, you got to reproduce that single line like 25 times in that circle.
Yeah, and again, an artist would someone who hasn't tattooed probably wouldn't understand is the more pressure you put on that needle, the thicker and bolder that line can get. And there's too much and there's too little. So when you're doing something like that where you want every line to be the same weight, then not only do you have to pull that line perfectly from start to finish, but you have to keep that pressure the same from start to finish. And then you've got to consider, okay, well, part of this is on bone. So if I put the same pressure over the bone as I do over the muscle, then I'm going to blow out on the bone and I'm not going to be dark enough on the muscle. So you've got to adjust your pressure as you're pulling the line, hoping they don't move, cough, sneeze, pick up their arm to start telling you a story. And you hope that you, from doing it 100 times before, get your pressure right as you go. And a lot of times you don't get it perfect. So then you've got to go back and you've got to kind of try to darken in where you want it darker and fade it off where it's already the dark that you want. So it's just because you see what looks like one little stroke or line, it is
definitely not.
It is not like that because you're using a tattoo machine to try to look like something else. So you can't just do it like you would with that medium. You have to do probably 50 steps so it looks like that other medium.
Yeah, that other one step in that other medium.
So you're saying tattooing's hard?
Well, it's
technical.
It looks a lot. It involves a lot more than just watching someone do it. Like a lot of things, if someone's good at something or they're comfortable at it, they make it look easy.
I know. That's why I don't like to be videotaped while I'm piercing because I've had problems with. Oh, that looks easy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go do that at home.
But all the knowledge and time it takes to make it look easy is what people don't see.
There's no simplicity in any of that.
Yeah, what I tell people this, and it usually turns a light on. I said, if tattooing was easy, you wouldn't see so many bad ones.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yep. If it was easy, there'd hardly be a bad one out there. But there's more bad ones than good ones.
Oh, yeah.
I remember having, and this has been years ago, having an argument with a guy about, it's really simple. You just got to put this on and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, here's a felt tip pen. Here's a marker. Here's a Sharpie. You draw that on your arm right now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll do it. And he did it, and it looked all screwed up. And I'm like,
there you go.
There you go. Now try doing that with the machine moving on you, and it's permanent.
And there's blood coming out, and if you wipe the wrong way at first, you're going to lose your stencil. And you've got that person staring at you while you're doing it. Add in all those factors, and is it a simple tattoo?
Yeah.
Nope.
No, it's not.
And everybody that came with them is watching you too. You got this whole operating room crowd.
You got the operating theater.
Right.
And the reason why I think if you ever come across, like you're at an art fair or even amusement park in some cases or fair or whatever, and you're watching somebody do art, one of the main reasons why I've always been fascinated by it is how easy they do make it look. Yeah. And how you're like, how did they decide to do it that way? I would have done it this way, but that would have sucked.
Right. Or you see them do something, you're like, oh, they just fucked that up. And then by the end of it, you're like, that looks perfect.
Yeah.
How did they do that? That's part of that human imagination and draw and individuality that you only get with people that have done this over and over and over again.
Well, it's almost like going to the fair and seeing that somebody draws caricatures.
Yeah.
There's people that, dude, they can whip them things out, and they're just unbelievable. You know what I mean? and like they whip them out with nothing, with some weird ass tools like the big fat markers and shit, and all these people watching them and just on the fly, and like a lot of people underrate that craft. But dude, it's a lot like tattooing. Like that, it's hard to do. If you don't think so, go home, look at yourself in the mirror, sit there and look in the mirror, and draw yourself in a character, and see how well it turns out against the ones you Googled online.
And I like how it's kind of like tattooing. It's kind of one shot. All right, you got so much time.
Yeah, but
here
it's
we go.
simple
We're doing it. Yeah,
looking.
Yeah, there's no simple.
Knock it out, man.
You have you have to have confidence, but you can't have so much confidence that you're not putting effort.
Right.
It's a weird little middle ground that you've got to find. If you go too far one way or the other, you're not going to do your best.
Yeah.
It's that daredevil in it.
Kinda, yeah.
Because you're always at that cusp of just, man, if I screw this up, that's that.
You got to let your talent and your ability come right up to the edge of where your guts are and your confidence level is to do it. They got to meet. Once you go over either one of those lines, it's done.
Well, yeah,
it's done.
And at the same time, you have to trust in yourself.
You got to know where those spots
that
are.
you can do it, because you're not going to get close. You're not going to get as close to those lines if you're doubting yourself. If you're, you have all these other reservations.
And if you haven't passed over the line, you know where it's at.
Right.
Pretty much.
That's a big one.
Also, I'd like to say that, if your artist is doing something simple, like say a single line around the arm or something, where they have like one shot to kind of, knock this out and there's no way to hide anything. That's not the time to kind of doubt them and shake their resolve or anything, because that confidence is kind of necessary to pull off a good tattoo. So that's not the kind of time to be like, well, are you sure you're going to be able to do that?
Can we just move this a quarter of an inch this way?
Are you sure you can do this? Are you positive? Are you sure?
It looks a little crooked right here.
What's going on in my mind is, of course I can. I've done it time and time again before. So if you're doubting me, maybe you're expecting something different than I've delivered. So now, is what I'm happy with and everyone else been happy with different from what you're wanting? Because why would you be doubting me if, you chose me, but, it puts that weird little, I hope this is what they want and expect, because, I've tried to talk to them about it and they've answered the same question different times. And, there's this weird gray area. So, and that's why in the industry, a lot of people will say you get the tattoo you deserve. It really, in a lot of ways is true, because you picked the guy. You sat down and you got it, and either you let the person you picked a good person because of the time you spent picking them, and you let them do their thing and you got a great tattoo, or you went in, you were a total pain in the butt, you put all this crap in the air, you weren't precise on what you wanted, you just were going to wait till after it was done to see if you liked it or not, because you don't care if you tell the guy he screwed up. That's going to ruin that guy's year.
Well, that person's not working with the artist. They're everything's on the artist. I have nothing to do with this situation. I'm just the person getting it.
Except for putting all the bad element out towards it and juju towards it that you possibly can.
See, that brings you back to like Sherry's analogy. It's like, the tattoo was already there. All I did was just make it visible.
Just bring it out. Yeah.
So I guess maybe if you have all that underneath there, all that anxiety and grossness, and
comes out
in a way.
When you get a crappy tattoo, because you just can't. I'm not saying everybody's bad that has a crappy tattoo, because I would be one of those people.
But you could argue at least that they deserved it, because you knew the guy lived in a van by the river. You knew the guy
there were some red flags.
Used the needle on your buddy and then used it on you.
There was marching bands going, "Don't do this, don't do this."
So that's a terrible tattoo. But did you deserve that tattoo? Yeah,
you kind of asked for it.
You got it.
Yeah. The key is if you learn from it.
Yeah. Well.
Now, if you go back and get another one, then.
And if you find someone else to blame for the reason you got that crappy tattoo, guess what? You're going to get another crappy.
I've done 4 by this guy, and they all are really bad. But I'm hoping he finally gets a good one. Like, they're free, you're cheap, or whatever. Like,
he just keeps screwing up. He just keeps doing a bad job.
But they are free
on you because you're
the Post-it note, dude.
That.
It's totally free to be a Post-it note. I don't know why I look like a Post-it note.
And the other thing I think that maybe the general public doesn't understand is, yes, you guys work 7 hours and you guys work after. I'm not getting into that. The scheduled time. there are parts of the day where we take time off because we have to. Because we're human, we have to stop what we're doing. We have to use the restroom. We have to take a break.
Sandwich in my mouth.
You have to eat something. So a lot of times I get this a lot of pressure from people. If we close at 8, I'm getting it at 7:45. Like, oh, come on, you can do one more. Come on, you can do one more. By that time in the day, I'm done.
Yeah, because you've used your energy for the time you know you're going to need it. So even though it might seem like, oh, it's just one more piercing. Yeah, but I'm not prepared for that.
No, I'm not
piercing. I'm
not.
I used my resources to where I need them to do, and I know at this time then I get to do this.
There is a certain amount of mental energy that you have to have to do a permanent modification on somebody else.
Yes.
It's not just sitting down and knocking it out. No big deal.
And at the
end of the day, it's like you've had this emotional psyche vampire sucking on the back of your head some days, and you're just like, blah blah blah.
You're out.
It's amazing how much concentration uses energy.
Yeah.
It really burns a lot of energy. We're not standing on a treadmill all day running, but man, we are in our brain. We're concentrating for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
It takes a lot of focus.
Well, there was a study I read back when these two chess champions had this tournament, and they went like 6 months long because they kept coming to stalemates. Well, one of the guys they thought was going to die because he lost like 70 or 80 pounds over this several-month period, and they were doing a study on him like in Harvard or somewhere like that over in Europe. And they found that like when you're concentrating, using that much brain power to like be strategical and think like that, and stay involved and focused, your brain burns more calories and energy and protein in your body than like your thighs do during a marathon.
Yeah,
which is unreal to me. It stands to reason.
That would explain the girlish figures.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
Stress will lead to all kinds of health issues.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
I like to try to schedule like 15 to 30 minutes in, but I usually do about 2 big tattoos a day or maybe one big one. And I like to have a 15 to 30 minute break in the middle of that where I can eat a sandwich or put something on my stomach besides a cookie.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Because like after a while, you're going to have diabetes and like it makes you feel awful.
Already have them.
It makes you feel awful, dude. Like, 'cause I don't know how many times I've worked.
I have the one diabetes.
You have the one diabetes?
Be careful.
I don't know why. What is it called? Diabetes should be what it is, not diabetes.
Diabetes.
Diabetes? I don't know. I only have one of them. But I don't have multiple ones.
Because I have found I do that a lot. Like I get to where I'll either go over or somebody's early or I'm behind or something happens to where like that 15-minute or whatever just gets kind of pushed under the rug.
Yeah.
And I go from tattoo to tattoo and like sometimes like I've tattooed from when we open at 1 until about 7 or 7:30. Then I'm like all of a sudden I start feeling like kind of ugh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel very good. I'm getting kind of cold sweaty and like I'm having a hard time thinking like, oh, well, I haven't eaten anything in like 9 hours. I ate breakfast at 10 this morning, but it's 7:30 at night. Yeah. I got to stop for a minute, man. Give me a minute.
You wouldn't think
1 second. You know?
Wouldn't. Yeah. Layman thought would tell you that it'd be hard to burn through 2 eggs, 3 strips of bacon, an orange juice, and some toast. Just sitting on your butt.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. But man, it for whatever reason, it really does wear you out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does.
And if you eat at the end of the night, like 8 o'clock, and you eat like a Stouffer's, even though it's some smallest portion,
hey, sugar.
Yeah, by the time you eat it, it's like a brick hitting your stomach. And you're like, oh, I don't feel very good, and I still got to draw for 9 hours. Crap.
Yeah, your stomach was like, oh, I thought we weren't going to eat anymore. So I kind of sent some people home.
Yeah.
This might have to sit here for a while before we can get to it, pal.
And you overeat. Usually when
sometimes,
you do that, and your body automatically goes into starvation mode. I know that one of the reasons why I'm diabetic is because I'd get up in the morning, I would force myself to eat something on the way to work, and I would eat until I got home at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
That's what I've been doing lately.
Don't do that.
Horrible.
Me too.
And the point I was bringing up with this is a lot of times it seems like that pressure to do the simple tattoo only takes a few minutes, usually hits in that last hour or so, because they've called around every shop in town and they're looking for that one person who has 15 minutes to do this tattoo that's only going to take 15 minutes. Regardless of what that design is, it's like by the time you do that, you're not going to get the best results if you're stressing out your artist. They've been tattooing all day.
Yeah.
That's kind of how mine would last in the middle of the day.
And the guy you're going to get is the guy that or guy or gal or whoever that nobody goes to because they haven't done a tattoo all day,
Right.
and they're just happy to be
That
there.
comes back to you get the tattoo you deserve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Tina used to be bad about that. One of our old front girls, man, she'd be like, because you'd schedule your day, like I got from 1 till 5, then I don't have anything till 5:30, then I go from 5:30 till close. And she'd be like, well, this guy wanted a 15-minute tattoo, and you had 30 minutes in between these tattoos. No, I had lunch planned
Yeah.
in between those tattoos, and this 15-minute tattoo is taking me an hour, and now I've messed up a half hour on each one of these appointments.
or I've had, or
you know, and I'm
I
working
needed
late
that
or whatever.
time to shift my brain into this new realm. you
Or
know?
I had to pee, or I had to get a drink of water, or, you know, all
And
the
I know-
above. Like, good God, man.
I know that I use this as my excuse for my healthy, disgusting, unhealthy habit of smoking. But yeah, if I didn't smoke,
You wanna get a
after I
break?
get done piercing, I'd be at that computer doing stuff, and I would never stop.
Yeah, It kinda
And that's
gives you an
part of the
automatic built-in
it's
break.
like yeah, it's like this little feller comes up and goes, nicotine,
Yeah.
nicotine.
I'm terrible
You
at
have mail.
I'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this pedal right here, and then I'm taking a break, and then I'll go.
You get in the flow.
Well,
One more.
I'll get this, I'm gonna get this little shadow, and then I'm like, well, I might as well.
Then the rose is
Man,
done.
and it's funny.
Yes.
That's when the flow really kind of hits you,
Comes.
is when you're like, you know, kind of
Yeah.
not expecting it, kind of like, all right, I need a break, you know, like you
Yeah.
kind of hit that little stride, and it's like, oh man.
right, yeah.
then you
kinda
look
like
back at the
the
clock and spend
marathon
another
brick
hour,
wall.
and the customer's going, I thought we were taking a break.
Yeah, I've been wanting to scratch my ass for like 25 minutes. And
Right.
I
I've got-
thought
well,
I
I
could
do
do it
that.
in like a minute. Now you've been at me.
I'll tattoo until my customer says something pretty much now, because I
Yeah.
just get zoned out.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, can we take like a pee break? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'll look at the clock and like, we started at 1. It's 4. Like, sorry, dude.
Well,
My
what we're
bad.
doing to your body and your psyche, well, we do that to ours all the time.
Right.
Yeah, don't worry. We got this under control.
Yeah.
Which just reestablishes this collaborative thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You're together in that. It's a team effort, dude. It's not a single person sport.
Yeah. No matter what you're doing, you don't want either side picking at the other side or not confident about the other side, or you've got to make sure that your buddy, your pal, your partner in this, whatever you're doing,
Your
is
collaborator.
down and is on the same page.
Your tattoo buddy.
That gives you confidence
Yes.
that you two are gonna get going for the exact same result. That's gonna that's gonna push you harder and have more focus on the result, because you're positive that's what we're going for, right?
And
Yeah.
they're going to try harder to sit better. And,
But
also,
when you've been like, I guess when we get there, I'll knock out that guy so you can steal the diamond, but I don't really want to.
So what you're saying is, don't be the odd couple or like grumpy old men, and be more like stepbrothers.
Boom.
Okay.
There you go.
Exactly. Let's do
Yes.
karate in the garage, man.
Well, we have
Yeah.
lots of room for activities.
friends.
So, do you think we've established there's
we've
no
done a
such
good
thing
job
as
with
a
this.
simple tattoo?
Mythical. It's like Santa Claus and stuff.
Yeah, it's a mythical creature. It's a unicorn, like my
It
friend.
hangs
Like that
out.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just joking,
Never
Shannon.
seen Shanahan. Where you at? I hear her.
we see him more often. I actually talked to her about going full time again, so we'll see. But do you think we've covered this, or do you have
Yeah.
anything else you guys want to add?
Like a blanket.
well,
I think that's good.
like a blanket. We covered it like a blanket.
Covered it with a blanket.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, share with other people. Be the guy, gal, whoever that shares, because everybody likes that. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube. Otherwise, just subscribe wherever you're listening to this. Check out our merch store. Links are in the description. Also, if you you'd like to make a comment or you'd like to add your simple tattoo idea, feel free to do that in the comments section. Till next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we all hope to see you for your tattooing and body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. We'll
Later,
see you in
guys.
the
Be
next one.
good.